Welcome to the White Gray Black Weekly Manga Podcast channel, the podcast where we talk about all the latest and greatest ongoing manga releases. My name is Bruce. I am the owner and producer of the White Gray Black YouTube channel. With me again this week is Gautam.
Hello.
Who
My
assigned?
name is Gautam,
Yep.
and I am on the board of directors.
I was about to say he assigned himself
WGP.
CEO in our fun little opening, which you will have missed, but we won't rehash it. Please keep in mind for all major discussions, we will be talking spoilers for this week. This means up to Chapter 10 of both Telework Yotabanashi and Kindergarten Wars and Chapter 107 for Frieren. Now that we're through that, again, for the second time, unfortunately, thanks OBS. Sales stuff, which we were talking about. Luckily, we didn't get too far into the podcast with those mistakes. We were talking about Chainsaw Man, Blue Lock, and Slam Dunk leading the past at least 6 weeks, I want to say. One of those three has been in the top spot, and one of the other two has been in the second or third, so pretty consistent for the past 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah, and I mentioned before we got cut a little bit that I'm not sure if this is like a new Slam Dunk or if it's a re-release. I think it's a re-release.
Yeah, I think this is a re-release. I could look it up real quick. I'm fairly sure that they released some kind of new volume and also announced a movie coming this summer, is what I want to say. I'd have to go check it up. But yeah, everything else pretty consistent. It's kind of the fall, the 2022 and fall heavy hitters still up there. Jujutsu Kaisen, Spy Family, One Piece, as always, is just in there. Rurouni Kenshin is there. My Hero, Tokyo Revengers coming in, still probably writing its last volume. It's probably the second week of the final volume release for Tokyo Revengers, maybe third week. Natsume Yujincho is the only kind of new thing up there. That's, what is that called in English? Natsume's Book of Friends, I think?
I have no idea.
I think that's what it's called. I've watched the anime a little bit, so.
I actually completely tuned out for a second there because I was so distracted that Kenshin in that little pic has black hair.
Does he not normally have black hair?
No, he has red hair in everything.
Oh, really? Maybe that's a different character.
Oh,
it is he's in Hokkaido.
That's true. It's a sequel thing, right? So maybe
I have no idea. I have not consumed Rurouni Kenshin.
The author, I am surprised, didn't get his stuff axed.
I was gonna say, wasn't this the author that was not? That was.
They found a bunch of child pornography.
Yeah.
I know you were dodging saying it, but we talked about it too much. So yeah, he was a gross weirdo, man. I wonder
if this is one of those things where they take the title and have somebody new write it, but the original author's name is still on it or something.
Maybe. Yeah.
I have to look into that and see what the story of that is, because I haven't looked at it. I haven't watched it, so. But yeah, that's sales stuff. Here's more specific for the past week. Chainsaw Man, new volume. New volume, Chainsaw Man, hitting almost 300,000 copies in a single week. It's pretty crazy. And then in second place, less than 100,000. So yeah, Chainsaw Man's a powerhouse in shonen now.
God, it's so deserved. We say this every single time, but we love Chainsaw Man in this family. So
yeah, it's great. Yeah, everything else, Jujutsu Kaisen, Dan to Dan. The two at the bottom here, 9th and 10th, are actually kind of interesting to see these break the top 10. Witch Watch and The Elusive Samurai, which are two new-ish. They're only, I would say 2 years old now? Was Witch Watch, started 2021. I think Elusive Samurai also. They're both on Volume 9, so I'd assume that they're both published around the same time. But these are both Weekly Shonen Jump shonens. Action shonens, comedy. Witch Watch is more of comfy comedy, but interesting. I don't know if this is just a slow week, but I mean, $35K for 5 days on sale for
that's awesome.
WSJ properties is pretty good. Yeah, is uncancelable.
Also for comedies, it's kind of cool to see Witch Watch, which you see Spy X Family up there, sure, but Witch Watch is pure comedy 100% of the time, pretty much. So it's nice to see it selling well.
Yeah, I read a little bit of Witch Watch. It's super interesting and comfy. It'll probably be my I don't want to work my brain and read anything, and I'll throw it up there. I would say even more to note as an interesting comparison here is Witch Watch and The Elusive Samurai. Volume 9s, both of those published about 2 years in the main Weekly Shonen Jump magazine, right? So these are published alongside My Hero and Jujutsu Kaisen and One Piece, right? They're in the same magazine in One Piece. Dan to Dan is published only in Jump Plus, and that basically sold the same as both of those combined, right? About 1,000 less. So Jump Plus is not a lesser version of Shueisha Properties, in my opinion. I think we saw that with Spy Family earlier in the year, and Dan to Dan now for sure.
Yeah, those are two huge hitters, and Dan to Dan is like arguably one of the best manga running at the moment. Like
I would definitely put it in my top 5 currently running things, just because it's just one of those things that I look forward to reading every single week, and I'm always excited to read it. There's never like, oh, what happened last week? It's like, no, it's like I know what happened. It just has such good momentum, and it's a great read, and it doesn't have an anime, and which is
I bet they're waiting for a good studio to have an opening.
They announced it, but I don't remember if they gave us a studio. Yeah, my guess is they wait until maybe Mappa finishes Chainsaw Man in this either in 2023 or early 2024, and then maybe the next thing they give him is Dan to Dan. But Dan to Dan would definitely also be good to give to somebody like Bones or Madhouse, but I think
give it to Bones. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I think Bones is going to end up. I'm going to huff the copium, but I think Bones is going to end up doing One Punch Man season 3, hopefully. So,
didn't they say that was Mappa already?
No, they have announced season 3. They have not. They announced it like 5 months ago, in like September or August or something, and they did not say what studio, who's doing it. We have heard other news.
It's Mappa. We've heard.
We did. Okay.
Yeah, we did indeed. It is Mappa. The only anime studio that exists, apparently.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm talking shit. They just have so many things going at the same time.
It's weird because like they used to be kind of a special studio. I don't know if you watched one of their first things they ever made was, what was it called? Shingeki no Bahamut.
Oh, did they do that? Yeah.
That's one of Mappa's first things they made. I don't think it was the very first. I want to say they did 1 or 2 other things. But when you watch that was like really cool, kind of hyper-realistic. Like I remember episode 1 of that anime had like the horse running over the roofs, like action scene. That's like I think the cold open of that series. And it was so good. And that series was so good. And now they're just kind of like, they do shonen, right? They did a good job with Chainsaw Man from what I've seen. They do a good job with Jujutsu Kaisen from what I've seen. Did they do
JJK?
They did JJK. They do Chainsaw Man.
I didn't know they did JJK.
Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen put them, I would say, more on the map than anything. But Vinland Saga season 2, they're doing. They took Attack on Titan 2 or 3 years ago. God of High School maybe was another one that kind of put them in the forefront. They did Zombieland Saga. So even
Saga, yeah, that was the first thing by them I watched. Well, aside from Shingeki no Bahamut.
Yeah.
Speaking of Shingeki no Bahamut, the main character is just Jack Sparrow, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
not literally.
They also did They also did Terror in Resonance, which was a good show with one really bad character, and people kind of panned it for that. That was the high school kids are terrorists thing. It's really good. You probably saw the scene. You probably saw the scene where the guy and the girl are on the motorcycle. It's got like a really cool song in the background, but I was
gonna say I saw no scenes from that, but I actually did see that.
Everybody saw that. That was like everywhere for a couple of weeks when it came out because it's like a gorgeous scene. The very first thing they did actually is one of my very favorite anime of all time, which is Kids on the Slope, or what is this? Sakimichi no Apollyon. That is. Yeah. I think I've told you to watch that, but that is like definitely probably in my top 10 anime of all time, maybe top 5. It's very, very good. Surprised that that's them because it's very different from what they do now or what they've done since 2015 or so. But yeah, Mappa's an interesting studio. So
yeah, I guess they changed it up a bit ever since they acquired like so much Madhouse stuff.
Yeah, I think they just kind of grew in the past 5 or 6 years. They just became a big studio, and you want kind of a big studio doing big action stuff, cranking out as much stuff as you can. So they're like one of the heavy hitters from about 3 or 4 years ago. They're up. I mean, they're Bones, they're Madhouse, they're Trigger, they're that size or bigger now.
But I think the major point is yuck anime. Am I right, Bruce?
Anime
Fucking talk
sucks.
about
Read a book.
Let's talk about mangas again.
Yeah. So next little news thing I have here. There's an AI art generated manga that's going to be published by the magazine Shinchosha. It is called Cyberpunk Momotaro by Rootport. I'm going to assume that that is the name of like a Twitter user or something.
That's the AI.
Yeah. This is interesting. I'm not going to get too deep into the discussion of AI generated art because that can and maybe should occupy an entire episode, although the angle of it from the manga side is not super, it isn't super prevalent, it isn't present in manga very much. This is maybe the first time I've heard about it. There is something I found because I said, Shinchosha. I have not heard of this. And so I Googled it, and at the very last sentence, let me just read this to you. Tell me this if this lines up with something you would think of a magazine publishing AI-generated art. It says, in 2016, after an editorial change, the monthly magazine Shinsho 45 increased its publication of polemical articles from authors who usually wrote for publications offering a alt-right wing perspective. In 2018, they stopped publication from that user, and the president particularly criticized a series of essays in the October 2018 issue that defended Sugita's article, calling the series expressions full of prejudice that lacked appropriate recognition and deviated from the common sense. So this sounds like they had a stint as sort of a right-wing magazine. From what I understand, they are mostly a book publisher. I did not find very much manga published by Shinchosha. So, yes,
So
interesting.
you're telling me like the Proud Boys started up their own magazine with a robot, and
Well, this is
they're
an
making
old. So this is an old magazine that started in like 1897 or something. What it sounds like is it had a leader in around 2016, who was very right wing. And then in 2018, I think they got a new leader or a new somebody that kind of criticized and pulled back from that. My guess is there's still a little bit of that right wing crowd sticking around because
in 2018 they called LGBT couples unproductive.
yes.
What?
And then
Okay,
shortly
yeah,
after
that's not
that, they
long
criticized
ago.
those essays. Yes.
Wild. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what we're saying is if you don't want the full story, an AI generated manga being published by essentially Fox News book publisher from Japan. So that's not actually true. I think that they're pulling back a little bit from that. And again, I don't know the full story or enough about Shinshosha to talk about that, but it does run consistent in my mind, at least, that an AI manga would be published by a magazine that would be traditionally right-leaning. I don't think any other artistic outlets would want to take this kind of risk. I think that if WSJ did this or someone who is bigger, in the art manga industry, I think the wolves would come for them and they would not hear the end of it for a while. So
I was thinking they couldn't find any good artists to work for them because they're bigoted, and they're
quite
just like, okay,
possible.
let's use this robot. It's cheap.
Yeah, and I don't know the history of the author here. I know that I'm reading and it was published on Twitter first. So, yeah, I wonder do you think that AI art will, because it's infiltrated a lot of things adjacent to manga art, right? A lot of these for hire artists that are out there that do sort of anime style stuff. I forgot
It's
to put
complicated. The thing is, I don't really have a firm opinion on this one because I think it could be used as a tool to assist people pretty well.
Yeah.
It's efficient, it's useful, but art's also like an expression of humanity itself. So I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that.
Yeah, I'm kind of of the same mind because in a way, every artistic tool that has ever been created has made the process easier and simpler. If you think about, 100 years ago, you would have to own 20 different brushes and then 20 different brushes and a physical medium and create your own paints, maybe, and stuff like that. Then paint comes out and painting applications come out and you can create your own brushes. So now brushes making is easier. And I'm sure that there was probably some pushback against those from physical artists, but most people would not call art created in Photoshop not real art, right? I have not heard that argument made versus
True, but
a true
I
oil
think there's
painting. There is a
there's a
line
difference
though,
between the AI doing all the work, right? Just making the thing itself.
right?
I don't know. It's dicey. I have no idea. I'll let
But if
the
you're
artists argue it out on Twitter, and I'll
yeah. One last thing,
yeah.
I guess you would think if you're a brush maker and all of a sudden Photoshop people can just make their own brushes, your job would feel threatened, and I understand the pushback there. So this is a similar thing where it's like, I see the artists saying, well, people may not need us if this tool is, completing every step along the way. I will say that I don't think AI art is good enough to do that yet. I don't think it's good enough to completely cut out the artist. I think it can get you a lot of the way there, and then especially if you're doing commissioned art or something like that. If the author says, draw me a duck on a bridge, and you give them a duck on a bridge, and they go, oh, can you move the duck to the left 50 feet, 50 inches, whatever. The author says, no, I can't. You can't do that. You have to reprogram the AI art. It's going to give you a different picture. They can't just change things. If the bridge is made of stone, you go, oh, can you make the bridge made of wood? You can say, well, yes, I can. But the picture is going to look completely different as I generate a new piece of AI art. So I don't think that AI art is quite,
it's not there yet, but it's close, right?
Like at least for the people who are worried about it, quote unquote, taking their jobs or taking work away from them. I don't think it's quite there. I think it is close that these people are right to feel threatened. Probably something we need laws around, but yeah, we won't spend too long on that. Like I said, that's another whole episode. We could talk about that.
This is actually just a discussion about AI replacing people and like a global standard income. But yeah, let's talk about manga.
Yeah,
fuck anime and fuck AI. I'm here for the manga of it all.
Yeah. So Hikaru ga Shindanatsu, which is the summer that Hikaru died. I told you about this one. Did you read it?
Shit. No, I
you're gonna like it when you do, because it's very cool. Chapter 1 is basically a kid's childhood friend dies in the mountains, comes back and is possessed by something. That's all like chapter 1 reveal. So everything after that is the interesting stuff they go through. But that is getting an English publication for July this year. So only about a year after the original publication, maybe even a little more. Good. We're slowly closing the gap between real publication and a simulpub.
Yeah.
A simulpub English volume, which we will get someday, maybe. Speaking of simulpub things, Kodansha is going to pause their simulpub service. This has lots of series on it, including things like Eden Zero, To Your Eternity, Space Brothers, and lots more stuff. They're pausing all of those simultaneous publications. Most people I think that have read their original announcement, feel like they are probably going to follow this up with some kind of digital manga service, an online reader, in the same way that Jump Plus and some of these others have. So I don't think that this is a full, we're stopping simultaneous publications from, across the waters. I think this is more of we're learning how to set up our own digital manga service. So good. We're going to see more of these. We're going to see the Netflix effect happen.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's either that or they're selling their licenses to places like Crunchyroll, like whatever,
Yeah, they could.
I think you're right that it's the former rather than the latter.
Yeah, Kodansha's too big. Kodansha's the second or third, maybe biggest, maybe fourth. They're definitely top 5 manga publisher. So I don't feel like they would be so small that they would need to do that, but I don't know how much money these people make. I assume it's a lot, but maybe it's not. Hopefully it is not as bad as, was it the Square Enix digital manga service? Did you see the oh gosh, what series was it? The Sono Bisque Doll digital publication in the West, the censoring on it. Did you see that? That was a couple months ago. Okay. I mean, it was like black squares over bikinis. Like every bikini scene you did not show. Sono Bisque Doll is not like an incredibly lewd manga. It has cosplays that are sometimes a little risque, but not, I would say, not anything super sexually suggestive. On this digital manga service, the censorship was insane. People complained about it, and I think they pulled back from it. But yeah, hopefully we do not get another thing like that.
That's actually what happened to Naruto when it first released in the US.
Really?
They censored a lot of like the first, like, all the blood out. They like covered everything up on everyone.
Four Kids One Piece all over again.
Luckily, it was not nearly as bad as One Piece, where they replaced guns with the rubber mallets. No joke.
And cigarettes with "I'm licking a lollipop very fast."
Oh yeah, yeah. They rewrote dialogue to talk about the lollipops that Sanji seems to love
Yep.
instead of the cigarettes. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Very last news thing, which will tie into what we'll talk about later, but Frieren Beyond Journey's End, also known as Frieren at the Funeral, which is a better title in my opinion, is going on hiatus for an undisclosed amount of time. Most theories here are that they are probably taking a break before starting a new big arc and also assisting with the anime, which I think is scheduled to come out this year. I don't know if we have the exact date. My guess is that's probably spring or summer, so probably either in April or July we'll see that. So
yeah, and I'm totally fine with it. I feel like Frieren is one of those pieces of work that is kind of masterful almost every chapter, and it's also one of those things where I don't feel the need to have a chapter every week. I feel like its feels, episodic nature means I can read it. Yeah,
it feels more appropriate for how kind of slow paced and about Frieren kind of slowing down and enjoying her human compatriots. It feels kind of appropriate that it will take a break, that it goes slowly. Yeah, it's also one of those things that kind of like I would compare it kind of to like Kaguya or Oshinoko, although Oshinoko is a little bit different. Kind of survives entirely on its writing. Like the best part of it is the writing, so the art is fine and all the other things are good, but it's just written so well and the characters are also great and stuff it's absolutely just very good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's it for the news. So let's get into talking about some weekly manga stuff.
Yeah, I'll start her up.
Yeah, let's do it. So you're talking
about Telework
Yotabanashi. This is by Yamada Kintetsu of Sweat and Soap fame.
And I think we briefly discussed Sweat and Soap before. I like it a lot. And I don't know how much of it you have read.
I read 30 or 40 chapters, and I think we talked about this last time, but the male lead's physical dependence on smelling the female lead drove me absolutely wild. It's very rare that like a single issue makes me drop something, but I could not read. It was so... If you had reversed the roles there, and there was... Not even reversed the roles. If you had changed it from smelling her soap body smells to something else, it read very creepy to me after a while. I liked everything else about it. I just couldn't get over the fact that it was like, this dude literally cannot function in life without smelling his girlfriend. And it's this like very weird physical dependency thing that like, I don't know. I couldn't get past it. But
I didn't mind the fetishism or whatever it was. I think I thought the whole story was pretty damn good. I think
people rave about it. I might go back and finish it someday.
It wrote adult relationships well. I do think its weakest aspect is its creepy ass beginning.
Yeah,
where
the first chapter or two are rough.
It's like it felt borderline sexual assaulty at parts,
and that's kind of why I dropped it. Is to me, it never truly broke out of that. Again, you use the right words there. That kind of fetishistic. I as a dude have to participate in my fetish before I can do anything else in my day. I have to smell my girlfriend. I don't know. It just reads very weird to me.
I feel like that's all like horny anime stuff that like I see it enough that it didn't bother me. What did bother me, because later on, like they both consent to their. Yeah,
I mean they're dating after pretty soon,
right?
But yeah.
But there was like a gray area in consent in the first few chapters that didn't feel okay in my eyes.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. That's the opposite.
Telework is better.
It is good. It is good. Telework has a way stronger start. And I think it developed really fast. Like the main couple of the series like kissed in the last chapters. That blew up. But I think what's impressive about it is like how adult it all feels.
Yes.
And also what a fucking Chad the female
Yeah.
the main character is. Uh, it's like often in a lot of manga, right? Like authors play footsies, and it's not just manga. This like will they won't they stuff that goes on and off, but it's clear in this manga that uh the female lead knows exactly how the main character feels better, right? Like, and
Yes. She is
she's
more emotionally in tune than the male is, for sure.
yeah. So I think that puts a lot of this in perspective. That they are. She's obviously been flirting the whole time, and
Yeah.
I think that's it's just well written. It's just well written. That's all I can say about it. It's a good romance, and it feels like an adult romance, and it cuts out a lot of the bullshit and a lot of the fat that you
Yeah.
see in other romances. Yeah.
And it feels, as a adult person who's had relationships across, juvenile years, college, and as an adult, it feels much more real than most other adult relationships. I'm thinking of, like Wotakoi is one that people quote as like, oh, this is a great adult relationship thing. But like the way they start dating is they're like, haha, what if we dated each other, lol? And they just do in chapter 1. And it's like, well, like relationships don't really start like that. Sorry, anime and manga. That's not really how it happens. It happens like this, right? These people like live next to each other. They see each other occasionally. They start talking. They visit each other. They trade, he trades her manga, I think, in the last couple of chapters. And then now she's giving him picture books of Angkor Wat and stuff like that. So it's like, that's much more realistic. It's like you're in a similar physical space of some kind. You see each other daily or semi-daily, similar interests, reasons to see you talk to each other. It also feels very much like, yes, this is how most adult relationships actually start.
Right. Yeah. It feels natural, and I think that's hard to say about like 99% of romance manga that I've read. Like
Yeah.
None of it feels tropish or like it's leading towards like drama. I don't know how to say it. It's like it doesn't fall into pitfalls that a lot of romance manga that try to continuously write into their stories.
Part of it is that there are literally only 2 characters in this series right now. It is only the 2 romantic leads. So there is no, even in Sweat and Soap, right, there was like a guy friend and a female friend, and there was all of the work culture around them. This is like 2 people at home in their apartments that are next to each other, and that's it. I like this because I in generally like minimalist design tendencies. I think if there's fluff or fat, you cut it out every time, and I'll enjoy it more. And this is like super streamlined, straight to the point, 2-person romance. There's nothing else going on, and I like that.
That's a good point, and that's kind of how I feel about the supermarket one. It's also pretty like
very streamlined. Yeah,
streamlined in that they're just those 2 characters most of the time.
Yeah, and so Supermarket's a good comparison here. I think they're both very similar. The supermarket one even started with only 2 characters, kind of 3, because the male lead thinks that the girl behind the counter and that he smokes with are different people, so there's kind of 3 characters for a bit. But even that eventually has expanded. There's 2 coworkers that the girl works with. I think we've seen the guy worker's boss a couple times. There's like other little characters, but I would guess that this expands eventually. Maybe in the next 10 or 20 chapters, we'll get a couple more characters of some kind.
Yeah, it definitely will. But like, yeah, it all in all, strong start.
It's good. I like it a lot. I think it's way better than Sweat and Soap. So, yeah. And Sweat and Soap is already a very popular series, so I'm guessing that this one's gonna do numbers.
Yeah, I bet, man.
Cool.
What's yours?
So I think we should talk about Kindergarten Wars, which I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago, but we finished the first complete arc and started on a goofy little interlude. I just wanted to kind of cover the whole first kind of large quote unquote arc that they did, which was only maybe 4 chapters. I like this series a lot. I don't even know how to describe it. It's the perfect balance of comedy and a kind of hyper violent seriousness where everyone's lives are in danger and bullets actually matter and count. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what to compare it to. It's most probably like something like One Punch Man, where it is the sort of action is played for a gag at how strong people are, or the action is played for a gag or for like an emotional beat, and then everything else is just goofy and the characters are all fun. Yeah, and they introduced the school nurse, I guess, whose name is Gordon Z Sky, and he looks like, I'm trying to think of who he looks like.
He's the husband from Full Metal Alchemist, their teacher's husband.
Yeah. Sensei's husband. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but yeah, he's very much this like big mustache guy, thin little sunglasses. He has like a throwing axe is his thing. It's just a fun series where everyone kind of has their own like hyper competencies. One of the things that's fun to read about characters, and the reason why I compared it to One Punch Man, is that readers like when characters have one thing they're really good at, and then maybe they're bad at other stuff. And so like the female lead here is like the best assassin in the world, right? Like the best murderer in the world, maybe. But she's like an idiot when she's trying to find love, but she really wants to find love. So that's kind of where her tension is. And stuff like that. And then the new character, Gordon Z Sky, the school nurse, is like, clearly he's like an amazing nurse, but then he's violent. He will not let you get away. He will have to heal you. He will force himself to heal you if you're there for him. Yeah, very, very goofy characters type stuff.
She had like in like a previous chapter, I think the chapter right before this, she had like a little like dark little flashback thing. Risa the assassin, where like she's like, it shows that everyone kind of leaves her life, and she's wondering why everyone like goes away. So I think this goofy gag manga is setting it up to where she just lacks any sort of friends or companionship altogether. You know?
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that.
And I think you hit on exactly the good point of why I think this is a good manga so far, is that it's a gag manga that isn't just gags, right? It has a solid foundation built on characters and real, quote unquote, real drama with trying to find love. And like you were saying, people going out of her life. And the baseball bat bomb girl, she has this family drama that's like real and serious. And even if there's gags around it, there's kind of a through line that's still kind of serious is maybe not the right word, but
I know what you're saying, right? Like, right, because it's like 90% goofs, but that or 95% goofs, honestly. But like the 5% where it goes serious, it doesn't feel like it's out of place, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that every comedy or gag story, not even necessarily manga, kind of needs this, right? I mean, if you think about all the best, like, what are some of the best rom-com like movies you've ever seen? Like, I'm thinking of like 50 First Dates, I think, is a pretty good one. But that has like a really... Legally Blonde. Like, all of these have like a good, solid kind of base foundation of drama that they build the comedy upon. And I think that's what's going on here. Same thing I would say with Tomo-chan, just because I just kind of finished that a week or two ago. Mm-hmm. Tomo-chan, even though it is like four panel gags for almost every single chapter, it still kind of has this base of character drama that everything is built upon. And because that character drama is not a gag, because that is taken seriously, the gags built around it, it just makes everything better, because it is treating the sort of serious character drama with respect, and then the gags can be gags. And I think it's the same thing here, right? I think that Kindergarten Wars treats the character drama it introduces with respect, even if it is funny or ends in a gag or has some kind of reversal at the end. It just is, which is just good writing in my opinion, right? I think having that solid core of emotional drama, and Mob Psycho, right? Mob Psycho is kind of a gag series, maybe more shonen, but it's pretty goofy. It also has this kind of sort of character-driven emotional core that is taken seriously the whole time. So.
I cried when Mob and Reagan made up. That was so touching.
Yeah.
I agree. And there's a reason why Gintama takes like 5 of the top 10 spots in my anime list. It does the
Yeah.
same thing.
I
It
that
yeah.
encourages me to read Gintama because I've always looked at it and gone like, man, it's like 1,000 chapters of goofs. I don't know, but if it has this kind of
Its
serious
story arcs
emotional
are
core, then
phenomenal.
I'm sold.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to add that to my.
It's a lot of goofs, but they're all incredibly funny.
Yeah,
And when it does its serious arcs, when it has goofs during those too, but the emotional beats land so well. That author knows what he's doing, man.
yeah, I need to check it out. All the goof clips I've seen, like what is it, the 9 minute dog story?
God, so
That's
good.
one. Yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, and then they introduce at the very end another potential. This is a teacher, I believe. This is potential romance for the main character. I don't think this will be romance for the main character, but it'll be a fun chapter or two, I'm sure, or maybe another emotional story thing to build off of.
I like that the author already like first first panel of this character, you can already tell he's a freaking weirdo, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Uh with his little shoujo romance novel that
I
he's
did.
halfway through reading.
Yeah, he's just like holding a shojo romance novel and then a revolver in the other hand, and he's got a. It's character. Just one other thing, character design in this series is also really good. Like this guy is just a normal like blonde haired dude, but he has this cool mouth scar and this kind of dead eye stare that I look. I mean, I love the design of the nurse guy. I think the design of the three. I think the design of the three sort of main characters so far are good, simple but sort of easily identifiable. Um, I think the three main here are going to be the most normal looking people, and everybody else is going to kind of get wilder and wilder. I think we've seen.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just a really solid series. So
I agree. I'm glad you're liking it. When I brought it up, I think it was like a month ago or something. We were on like chapter 3. I thought it was just really fun,
it
and
was just funny. Yeah,
I didn't expect it to have legs, but it does. So, hey, you know what? Win-win.
yeah, it's very good. Anything else on Kindergarten Wars?
No, not really.
Cool. Let's talk about the big Frieren.
All
What
right,
a
let's do it.
cool chapter to sort of end. I saw some people talking about this. This is honestly kind of like the end of season 1 of Frieren, maybe.
It did have that feeling, didn't it? Like a season finale, and you're setting
It
up for
very much
season 2.
felt like a
Yeah.
lost season finale. If we're comparing it to something, yeah,
What a beautiful panel, by the way. Holy
it's so good.
shit.
And converting to color in the again, I'm a big proponent of digital manga publishing. This is something you can't do in the magazine, or is it more difficult, more expensive to do in the magazine. Is you can't just say, "Hey, I would like to shift. I'd like the last 4 pages of my manga to be in color." And yeah,
This is so well colored too. Like, look at her
yes.
eyes.
Yeah, the artist. I forget who the artist for.
Frieren at the funeral. Isn't
Yeah,
it a duo?
it is a duo. Yeah, it's a writing duo and an artist. I just can't remember the artist's name. Did I write it down?
Oh, there are 3 people working on this thing.
I think just 2.
2. Oh, okay. A writer and an artist, or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So Yamada Kanahito is written by Tsukasa Abe. That's the name of the artist. Yeah, Tsukasa Abe. So yeah, and they do all the coloring. And yeah, as much as we've kind of talked a little bit about, I don't want to say ragging on them, but their art is not. It's not
fine.
really the reason why I read Frieren, right? It's very good. The action paneling is not great, but all the other art generally is good. Character art's great. I think the coloring in Frieren is awesome. Have you seen like the volume covers that are all in color? They all look really, really good.
I've only seen the first chapter's first few pages and last few pages in color. I haven't seen any of the volume.
Yeah, let me see if I can find a picture that has multiple ones or.
This is like literally wallpaper levels of gorgeous.
Yeah.
I adore that.
I mean, like this is volume 1. I mean, I think all the colorings on the covers are like very, very good and very cool.
I like how I get a good kick out of how the dwarf guy looks, because his
Yeah.
art style is just like so different. He looks like a dungeon meshy character.
Yeah.
Thrown in Frieren.
Yeah, but I mean, just like the colors to me are like always awesome. Like, look how cool the greens in the summer kind of look on this one. If you're seeing them on screen,
It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, it's very
so
good.
what did you think of the chapter itself?
The chapter itself was a good. I mean, it was a good chapter. It was obviously sort of a lot of setup and then kind of a final twist reveal at the end with teleporting Frieren to the past. Although it is not fully clear what happened there.
Oh, and can you give like a quick recap of the chapter?
Yes. So they arrive at some northern town, Frieren Fern, and the dude whose name I forget. Stark, yeah. And essentially they say, oh, the immigration is backed up, which is a weirdly modern take, but I suppose it also probably has happened for thousands of years. Immigration is backed up. It's going to take, what did they say, like 3 or 6 weeks for you to get in?
3 weeks or something like
and
that.
So Frieren says, hey, there's this magical obelisk that's pretty close in the forest here. Let's go look at it. I looked at it when I was on the journey with the hero. And on the way there, she describes it as, she said that it was undecipherable the last time they were there. And she says that it has a magic which will make you foggy or make you forget things. And that she wants to go and try and see, they've only got a week or two to try to decipher it. I think last time they were there for, what did she say? A month or something?
I don't remember. Yeah.
She said that she was there at the heroes party for a time, and Stark and Fern are both like, we're not staying here for 3 years like we have in the past. Like, we're not. We need to go. We're gonna keep moving. But essentially, they get to this magical obelisk, this little obelisk totem thing. It's broken. Frieren says, "Oh, there's still magic in it. Let me check it out." She goes to check it out, and then while she's checking it out, this is where the manga switches to color. And then the obelisk kind of reconstructs itself because it was broken. And as it is reconstructed, she is teleported, 53 years past, or like 80 years past or something?
It
would be like 80 years, I think, because it said 53 years before the hero's passing at the very end of the chapter, and the current chapter is 31 or 32 years after the hero's passing. So, 80 some odd years. Yeah, 80 some odd years in the past.
86, yeah. You're right.
She's teleported back with the hero's journey, and the whole and she's there, and this is the color double panel spread you see here if you're watching the video on screen is Frieren with the original heroes team, hero's journey group. And yeah, I mean, this is like, I think I talked to you very briefly about this, but this is like something I would expect at the end of the series, maybe not in the middle. So I don't know. I mean, maybe Frieren is going to end soon. I mean, it's at 107, a lot of good manga and 100 to 200 chapters. So this could be the end game. You never know.
The priest guy's coming back, dude. I don't see it ending till he comes back.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like the end to me. This feels just something that in my mind, when I had said, okay, how do I feel that Frieren is setting up its sort of major story plot theme character arc? I always felt like it was very much about Frieren spent 30 or 50 years with the hero's party, and she never told the hero Himmel. She never told him how she felt, like that she was in love with him. And she massively regrets that. And I've always felt like the whole story is that she's going to learn by the end of it to tell the people that she really loves how she feels and to value the short time that she has with them because she's, essentially immortal as an elf. So I always felt that the end of the story or the end of the series is her, telling Fern and Stark and everyone how much she loves them and how much she cares for them and how much she affected them, even though she seems emotionless. That to me seems like the end of Frieren's character arc.
100%.
And I could see potentially that happening in this, or I guess I can see her coming more to terms with the loss of Himmel and not telling him how she felt. Although there's maybe a little bit more going on there, but
I'm not sure she understands her feelings fully yet. I don't think she knows she's in love with him, but she knows.
I think she does, and I think she regrets it. I think she doesn't want to admit to herself that she regrets not expressing herself as much. I think that's the big thing she has to overcome, is more of the kind of communication angle. But
right, and here's I haven't read any theories in the thread. I had to go to sleep. But here's what I think. Right, I think the the little thing that transported her back in time, she mentioned that it had like memory erasing or memory fogginess
Yep.
effects, so she couldn't complete what it was. She couldn't analyze it fully. I think it doesn't have any kind of memory effects, and she just, like you said, replaced past Frieren.
Yeah.
Um, and so past Frieren doesn't recall any of this because she's not here. It's future
Right. Part
Frieren
of,
that's here.
yeah, when she was describing what was going on to Fern and Stark as they walked, part of it was, I remember that we were there for a month. I don't remember anything that happened. It has some kind of memory magic. When we left is when I like came back into and knew what was going on. So yeah, and then when we see her transported back, I think you're right. I'm gonna add on to your theory. So I think what happens here is Frieren is transported back into, takes the place of old Frieren's body, mind into mind, whatever you want to say. She's in the past for that sort of dead week, dead month where she doesn't remember it. I think what's going to happen here is that she's going to realize, hey, I have a chance to sort of tell the people that I loved, that I spent time with, how I feel about them. And I think she's going to do that. And then I think she's going to say, okay, but I can't. They're either going to do, okay, I can't change the future, I'm going to make them forget, or she's going to sort of do the, you're already dead, this was for me, I can't change the way that you felt when you died, but, this was cathartic, essentially, for Frieren to go and say all these things, and so she'll just do the, I now understand, I'll delete all your minds for the month or whatever. That's my guess.
Here's my hot take. I don't think she'll delete any of their memories. I think she'll be honest, and they'll have spent a month with future Frieren, and she'll probably say, "Hey, don't tell past me that this happened," or something like
Oh,
that.
maybe, yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's another good guess. Yeah, I could see that happening.
And they all just keep the secret, because she asked them to. I think also that since the end goal of this story is to go visit Himmel in the like land of death or whatever it is,
Right.
that she will catch up with her pals and it'll be fun and it'll be nice and it'll be sad. Uh, but she'll probably have like a thing where she's like, and I'll see you soon and I'll catch you up
yeah.
on the rest. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually like that better. Now that you say that, I like Frieren just telling them like, "Hey, I'm Frieren from the future. You don't remember me," and just spending time or telling them how she felt or something, and then saying, "You can't tell current Frieren." That makes it sadder when you think about like Himmel like waiting for her and passing away, and all the other guys. Heiter, I think, is the priest guy, and I don't remember. I guess the dwarf guy's still alive. So the other two are dead, but I like that because that makes it even more melancholy, and Frieren is nothing if not melancholy.
And absolutely. And I think this is of course just a theory by both of us, right? But I feel like we can understand the author's intent to a certain degree, where I feel like we were probably going to be right, but we'll see.
It's going to be something close to what we're both guessing, right? It's either going to be Himmel or it's either going to be Frieren has some kind of emotional connection and deletes their memories, or she has some kind of emotional connection and tells them not to tell past her. And then she'll come back, and then she'll have kind of another, emotional realization of all the times after they traveled that they knew, whatever that she didn't know at the time. And yeah, it feels feels very appropriate for Frieren to kind of have that kind of melancholy, emotional satisfaction for a character while also withholding information and withholding the kind of full resolution of everything.
And if you recall the first chapter, to give a little bit of credence to why we're even speculating these two ideas, is in the first chapter, which is a goddamn masterpiece. Side tangent, if you haven't read Frieren at the Funeral, read just chapter 1 and that's what you're in for.
Yeah.
But in the first chapter at Himmel's funeral, everyone, like the onlookers, state that she's being cold, like she doesn't even give a shit, and she kind of breaks down and cries and says, "Why would I? Right? I barely knew him," because in her perspective,
she only knew him for 30 years or whatever, right? Or 50 years or something total, and she's like 2,000 years old or something. So
exactly, but the thing that gives credence to this theory is that her other two pals knew she cared a lot, right?
Yeah.
They knew more than her that she cared a lot, and it like shushed the onlookers and said, "Hey, come on, you guys don't get it, right? Like you weren't there." Uh, so they clearly know that Frieren cares deeply about them, even if she doesn't, right? So he- I think it might just be because they travel together for a long time and they know her as a person. They're emotionally more intelligent than her, but
Yeah.
or it could be this, right, where she tells them that she loves the shit out of them, right? I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, it's to tie this back to, I think we had this conversation last week or 2 weeks ago, but like practicing, we talked about like practicing consuming art and how the more manga you read, the better you get at it, the more anime you watch, the sort of better you are at consuming it. In the same way, if you think about the Frieren being 2,000 years old, she doesn't have the practice of being attached to people because in her mind they all come in and leave so quickly, even if it's 30 or 100 years. That's such a small part of her life that she doesn't really practice getting attached to people. So her kind of time with the heroes party is kind of like her first foray into feelings. You know, the what's a good what's a good person to get feelings for if I haven't had feelings before? Posted by Frieren on Reddit or Manga or something. But
It's kind of like, imagine I go to a birthday party and I meet a new person and we get along really well and it was a lot of fun, and then I never see them again for like a while,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I only met them for one day, but to them, like if they started calling me their best friend, I would be absolutely confused, right?
yeah.
I'd be like, I met that guy for one day.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
and this idea has kind of been explored. I'm trying to think of something that's done it. I want to say it's been explored in something where there's like either cloning or AI creation, right? Like you create a robot and that robot meets someone. If that robot's been alive for 3 days and they spend 3 hours with you, you've been a part of that robot, like 10% of that robot's life or something, right? And that robot
right.
has only been a part of less than 1% of your life. And that's kind of the same thing here. But yeah, tying it back around, the because the hero party spent for their lives, the two humans at least, a third of their life or more traveling with Frieren, they understand connecting with people better because humans, I think one of the big things we're going to learn is that, or Frieren either knows or is going to learn, is that humans are essentially better at making interpersonal connections than elves because of this kind of practice they have of their lives are so, quote unquote short compared to elves that they have to make these interpersonal connections in a relatively short amount of time, right? A couple of years time or months or, decades even. And Frieren just doesn't do that, right? The only person she seems really attached to is Flame, her master, who it seems like she spent probably like 50 or 80 years with her, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
Assuming she like her as a wizard ages normally, I'd say like 50 years,
right.
60
Well,
years,
and
something
I
like
also think that it's another part of the idea that Frieren, I think, was younger when that happened, and so spending 50 years with someone is a larger percent of her life, and so it felt more important, and she's carried that through. But yeah, anyways, all that to say, the writing in Frieren is fucking incredible still, and I love reading it. I'm sad it's going on break, but I'm also very happy.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned again how good the writing is, because
Yeah,
I I consider this to be like a masterwork in writing.
I think, yeah,
It's so good. I can't recall another story that is so much about like lifespan discrepancy in this way, like
mhm.
where especially in fantasy races like this, it's like a story of the perception of time. I haven't
Yeah.
seen anything like it. Have you, Bruce? Have you read anything
No, so
off the top of
it's
your head?
I'm glad you kind of pivoted there because this is I agree this is much more about the perception of time than it is a bunch of races live different years, because there's a little bit of that, a bunch of races live different time frames. There's a little bit of that in Dungeon Meshi, right, which is another kind of high
Right.
fantasy series similar to this. But it isn't treated in the same way, right? It isn't really like, oh, I'm so much, older and it takes me longer to get to know people, or I'm younger and I get to know people better. That's more about like, I'm an elf and all of my friends will die and I don't want them to die. But the elf in that series, uh, Her
Marcial's like, how old is she? She's not that old, right? Like
she's like
100?
200, I think.
Okay.
I don't remember if it tells us exactly how old she is, but yeah, but her thing is just like, I love all these people so much, I don't want them to die. And so she's kind of, trying to figure out that. But this is a little different, right? Because Frieren is not looking for a way to extend the people she loves lives. She knows and accepts. She's much more mature about it, right? Marcial's very much kind of an adolescent about it, which is intentional for the character, but yeah. I don't know. It's super interesting. I think the author has. I mean, it's one of those things where predicting the end seems not easy necessarily, but it seems like there's a couple of appropriate ways it could end to land the story. Because really, you're right. I need to go and reread chapter 1 even because I remember how good it is. It's all kind of said in there about how, I knew him for such a short time, but was still, in love with him or, loved my friends, even though we spent such a short amount of my life together. It was an important time. All those kind of ideas and things wrapped up.
Yeah. It's truly fantastic.
It's so good. Yeah.
I can't recommend it enough. And I hope to God they do the fucking anime well, bro.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this briefly in the past, but this shouldn't be a hard anime to adapt. I think this one relies a lot maybe on music and directing and voice acting, voiceovers.
For sure.
The animation doesn't have to be good in Frieren, to be honest. Like, it can be pretty simple because there's not, like we talked about, the art in it is good, is serviceable, but it certainly isn't the best thing I've ever seen. Although I will say,
I want it to be good though.
I do. I think it will be because, like we saw, was it on the sales page? Did Frieren show up on here? I don't remember now.
I don't think it's up there.
Not this week, but I think the last time that it had a release, it showed up. This is very successful. Frieren is so. Yeah, it's ready. I mean, it's going to be hard though comparing, because I know what animes look like as far as coloring goes, and comparing, let's say this scene happens, in season 2 or 3 or whatever. This panel will always look better than I can't imagine them making an anime looking better than this panel.
I agree. This is beautifully done, and it's like one frame, of course, right? Like technically, if you think about it. So
also, how do you do the swap from black and white to color when she travels back in time in the anime?
You don't. You can't do that.
How do you do that? Yeah. So, anyways, this is all to say, manga is cool, and you can do cool things in it that you can't do in anime.
With that said, I think there's potential for the anime to be better if they can elevate all the action scenes.
Yep. I think if they elevate the action. And if it's animated well, yeah, for sure it could be the preferred way. Who knows? I'm hyper excited. I love Frieren. Frieren is like, if Frieren lands the ending, yeah, it's gonna be good.
See,
that's the only thing I'm really concerned about because it has not been bad ever.
The thing is, I don't think this author is like an unpredictable writer. So I think you can go with the ending you've set up this whole time, and it'll be phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Because Frieren is more about like the moment to moment writing. It is the journey along the way. As corny as that is, it's like that's all about that. So I think I have faith. I think this will land the ending, and I think it'll be one of the greats. Yeah,
and all of the previous arcs endings have all been good. They've all been appropriate, and I think you're right that often authors try to dodge predictability and it makes the writing worse. I think you're right that this author is predictable in the right ways, and that's okay because they execute it so well. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Love Frieren. Any last thoughts on Frieren before we move on?
Nope. That's all I got for Frieren. I keep saying I've always said Frieren. This is my last thought on it. And you say Frieren, so now I've been flip-flopping between Frieren and Frieren, and I've just been inconsistent as shit.
Yeah.
I don't know what's right. Never tell me, please.
Okay, well, so the Japanese pronunciation is no.
How dare you?
Ooh, I think the long dash over the I, I think is a long I, so Frieren? I don't know. I can't read Japanese. I probably should.
We're going to call it that from now on. Frieren.
I think it's Frieren. Is how you would say it in Japanese. So I think it's Frieren, but I don't know.
Who knows?
Frieren, who knows? But yeah,
before we move on to
yeah.
our final one last thing, I wanted to ask you, since we're a bit shorter this time, let's just do a quick recap on stuff we read.
Oh yeah.
What do you got for me, Bruce? What did you end up reading?
I'm trying to think of what stuck with me this week. Oshinoko dropped a bomb. That was a good one.
I'm so sorry to do this to you.
Yeah.
I have not read that today. It's been
no.
busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I will stay away from spoilers then. Oshinoko drops a fucking bomb this week, Gautam. So get ready for that. Go read that when we're done. That one stuck with me. Ranger Reject has been good the past couple of weeks. I don't know if we've talked about that. Ranger Reject is always good. I like that series. Right before we started, I read a one-shot from this week called A Girl That Vomits Fish. It's a little Yuri love story one-shot. Very sweet and interesting.
That's a little bit disappointing. I saw it and I was hoping it was about a girl who actually vomited fish.
But she does.
Oh, she does? Okay,
yes,
okay.
It is actually, I mean, that's actually the thing. It's very much one of these weird... It's this thing that manga does a lot that I kind of like, where they just say, okay, everything's real life, but there's one weird thing. And in this one, it's just this girl vomits fish, and then they fall in love with another girl. It's only about like 20 pages long, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if I can fall in love with a person that vomits fish.
Well,
is that a deal breaker for you, Bruce? If it's a perfect girl, but she vomited fish,
it would depend what kind of fish and if you could cook them. Because if this person is like generating like fine fish for me to cook, that would be sick.
Bro, that's gross. You're even grosser than the girl that's vomiting fish. Don't. This is
dude, if she's throwing up like nice fish that you can cook, that's awesome.
It's covered in gross stomach acids.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, you deserve a girl that vomits fish, Bruce. You're too tolerant about this.
Is this the new? Would you love me if I was a slug or whatever? This is. Would you love me if I vomited fish?
This is that. Yeah, this is the new worm situation.
Yeah. What else? Chainsaw Man. I'll talk the big points. Chainsaw Man's still good. Zigged and then zagged, but I think it was correct and appropriate. I think the next 2 or 3 weeks we will probably choose Chainsaw Man. Maybe next week or the week after. We'll see how long it takes the story to... I have a feeling a beat is coming in the story that we'll want to talk about. It is. Okay. So probably in 2 or 3 weeks then. I have a feeling we're coming up...
It when his sister comes back, the control devil, I forgot her name.
Nayuta?
Yeah. Nayuta. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're heading to some kind of big-ish event happening. When that happens, we'll probably talk about it that week. So coming up in the next month or so, Chainsaw Man. I'm trying to think what else. It's been kind of weird because there was no Shonen Jump this week, so we only got Jump Plus. So it's like Chainsaw Man, Dan to Dan, Rent a Girlfriend continues, has not been canceled or ended yet, so that keeps going. What about?
Thank you for the Rent a Girlfriend update. I think.
Oh, do you want the real Rent a Girlfriend update? Because he posted a picture.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hit me.
It's actually not as bad. So it's not. Sometimes Miyajimi Reiji, the author of Rent a Girlfriend, will draw over pictures of his wife with the main girl from Rent a Girlfriend. This week was not as bad. This week I think he just drew a picture of her and posted it. Oh, I don't know. He might have drawn over his wife again. You tell me.
Oh my god.
I think he just took a picture and drew over. I think he just drew over his picture. I don't think his wife is standing here. Actually, maybe.
I can only see the picture of Frieren still.
Oh, because okay. If you're watching the video, you can see it. It's because Discord. No, you're good. I just need to do share screen. No, screen 2. Nope, back. There you go. You should see the whole screen now. But yep.
I think he just drew a picture due to lack of shadow.
Yeah, well, she has shadows on her, but
I mean, like I don't see a
behind her.
Shadow.
Yeah. Anyways, that's the Rent a Girlfriend update. Is Reiji drew the lead female of his romance manga in a live setting like he does every week. This week he did not draw over his wife, so bonus points, Reiji, for not drawing over your wife this week.
Yeah, I guess kudos, man. That's
kudos. You did not draw over a family member and replace it with your fictional perfect girl.
The
Chizuru.
person you fucking married and promised to
Yeah.
love for life, you didn't replace her with an anime girl.
I'll convince you to read it one day.
Thank
It's
you,
not as
friend.
bad as people say. It's fun.
At this point, we effectively have an unofficial segment about it every time. I
If
do
he
have to
posts
read
on
it.
Twitter, if he draws a picture on Twitter and it's fun or funny, absolutely, we should just do a segment on it. But what have you been reading the past week or so?
Yeah. So, Survival of the Sword King Fantasy is a manhwa.
Okay.
It sounds kind of generic. It is kind of generic,
All
but
manhwas sound generic when you read their descriptions. There's not a single one that sounds individual.
yeah, it's basically God took a bunch of people and threw them into a fantasy game world type thing. Except they threw the main character into this like hellish landscape with constantly like evolving enemies on accident. And he's just there for like 5 years fighting demon dogs that get stronger, and he gets like he gets so fucking ripped. He gets like Hulk ripped pretty much.
Yeah.
And then uh a quote unquote god who's just like an employee somewhere. He's like, oh fuck, I fucked up this world, and throws him in like the fantasy world he's supposed to be in, and he's like a low level or whatever, but still looks like the Hulk and can bench press the earth, you know. It sounds generic and it sounds like a power fantasy, but it's not really. It gets interesting. The main character is overpowered, yes, but he's also this hulking monster, and other people are just normal human compared to him, and he stands out like a sore thumb.
Would you describe it as an isekai power fantasy?
Uh, yes, because all of these stories
Okay,
are,
I'm out.
but I'd say it's kind of unique because the main plot is that a bunch of humans get sent to this other world, and quote unquote gods quest for them, and their quest line is to kill all the inhabitants of the world.
Mm.
And once the people from Earth, our normal world, kill a person of that world, they get like this endorphin rush of like a god powered drug and endorphin rush inside of them, and they just want to keep killing, you know.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, it's cool. It art's okay. Story is fun. It's nothing special.
Is
But
it better or worse than
it,
Tower of God?
worse.
I can't. I hate Tower of Gods. I don't think I can read this.
I love Tower of God.
You like Tower of God a lot, though. So yeah, maybe that's not a good. Maybe that's not a good comparison.
This is like a 6 out of 10. I thought Tower of God's like an 8.
Better or worse than solo leveling plot only?
Better, way better.
Okay, that's good.
Because solo leveling plot only is like a 3 out of 10.
Well, the start of solo leveling, the first 100 chapters, I think the plot are pretty decent, pretty good. After that, it's pretty bad.
I don't even think that was like because like they had like the same characters for like 40 chapters, and then they just wrote them out.
Writing out women is a huge problem in solo leveling. We could, yeah. I don't know if two guys should do a podcast on women and manga, but we certainly could talk about the issues that exist. And solo leveling is a huge offender of just writing in female characters and then writing them out when they don't matter, or the author's bored with them or whatever.
Yeah, let's fucking do it. The Horikoshi episode.
Oh god, yeah.
What else? The other one I read was Shangri-La Frontier. It's you've seen it on the best-selling list.
I've seen
a lot of weeks. It is also a game world type thing. I don't know why I read two, the same type of thing, but this one's even better. I really don't. This one's even better than Sword King. The main character is this degenerate gamer guy who likes to play shitty games. He plays Shangri-La Frontier, which is just a good game, and he has a duck head on the whole time. He doesn't take the duck head off. And
yes, I'm looking at pictures of it now, and it looks interesting.
Hold
on, wait. Does the main character of this also use double daggers as his main thing, the same way that solo leveling does?
Kind of, yeah, a lot of the time. But he doesn't use it like the solo leveling guy because he doesn't have equipment on because he got like a debuff put on him.
Oh, okay.
So he has like effectively a glass cannon. He has 1 health, and he has to do perfect parries, Dark Souls style.
Okay, yeah. The no vitality.
Yeah. He's just doing perfect parries throughout the whole series and has no health and no other damage. He just does parries and parry counters.
Cool.
It sounds boring, but it's good. Art's good too.
Cool. I forgot that I read one more thing. I'll admit this. I'll admit it publicly on the podcast. Why not? I read about half of currently published Rosen Garten Saga. Have you heard of this or read this?
Yeah, I read the first chapter and I thought it was
it's
like
so
absolute,
fun, though.
Absolute degenerate trash.
It gets better in that it gets worse. I don't know. It's so.
I hear that.
I don't even honestly. I don't even know if I can give a plot synopsis for the series and remain within YouTube's terms of service. I will say it's a extremely virile man's spirit possesses a girl, and they go to compete to try to win the man's kingdom back. There's a lot of lewd and sexual stuff in this, but the art in it is insane. It's so good. I wish this artist would do something non-ecchi because, like, seriously, the art here is, like, so sick. And the action is legit amazing. Why? Man, I could do a whole podcast on this. Why are the ecchi artists actually the best action panelers? They're so good. Some of these ecchi battle actions are, like, the best action I have ever seen outside of One Punch Man. And Rosengarten Saga is one of them. The action in it is really sick, really cool, really good.
I have no idea why the horniest people do the best action, but
it's something about knowledge of the body. I want to say they know they can move the human body and position them in certain ways. Who knows? Anyways,
let's call our top scientists figure this shit out. You know,
because it's this, and then what's there's another one that's like even hornier that also has great action. That's like the stripper.
The slave one has great action.
The slave one has good action. Yeah, that one's more just kind of ecchi though. The one I was thinking of is it's like the stripper porn actress, but then they wrestle, and there's been like a wrestling arc for the past like year that I just like started reading during the wrestling arc, and I was like, man, the action in this is really sick. And I went back to read the start, and it's like porn production in Japan. I don't know. I can't remember what it's called.
What you're talking? That sounds.
It's oh gosh, I'm gonna hold on.
A stripper starts going into wrestling.
Yeah, she's always been a wrestler.
I have never seen this. That sounds.
You've heard of it. When I find
that sounds kind of cool, though. I guess.
When I find the name of it, you're going to be like, "Ah, yes, I have heard of that."
Yeah, probably, but it's not ringing any bells whatsoever.
I think it actually ended or is planned to end pretty recently. No, it is not. You come, you lose. It is not God of Pro Wrestling.
I typed
Chris Jericho's Wikipedia page showed up when I searched this.
Is it called Akiba's Trip?
Not Akiba's Trip. Oh, man.
Okay, because I googled stripper wrestler anime, and that was the first thing. Are you talking about Kill la Kill?
Not Kill la Kill.
Okay. Just making sure you're not talking about fucking Kill la Kill.
I'm searching a specific chapter. God, I hope I'm not broadcasting. I'm searching. Okay, no, we're good. No. I cannot.
We'll get it.
I'll figure it out eventually, and we'll talk about it. Anyways, essentially, it's like it is Baki, but girls is what the last like 100 chapters have been, and honestly, the action in it is like sick. Like it's very good, very well drawn.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah. So I read Rosengarten Saga. I actually have not read. I read like 20 chapters, then was like, do I need to keep reading this? Do I want to read this week to week? Not really. So that's what I've been reading. So anything else?
Yeah, I wanted to give my weekly Komi update. Still bad. Okay, that's the end of that. Komi-san.
Oh, Komi. Yes. I click on Komi. I open it now. I go, oh, new Komi. And I don't even read the panels. I click and I see, okay, is this chapter 5 pages? Is it 14? Is it 22 like a normal shonen? I click through it and then I go, oh, okay. Her and the other girl had a quiz show and that was the chapter. And it's tied at the end. That's it.
You got the whole gist of it. Yep.
I did not read a single word in that chapter. I literally just clicked through it and was like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
You don't actually have to read Komi, which is the sad thing.
Probably just shouldn't at this point.
It's not great. It's unfortunate because when I started reading it, it actually had a really good arc. It was like the end of the Manbagi confession stuff, which was like I think a really solid arc in Komi-san.
I just don't like love
It's
triangles.
just been garbage after that, though. Like, there's been, well, I guess there was like the actual confession, real dating and stuff. But man, there's a lot of chapters too to try to go back and read, but that's not really worth it.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it's not that funny.
Nope,
And
not really.
it got past all of the romance stuff, so now we're just here
Yep.
existing.
All right. So
But yeah,
one
yeah.
extra
Sorry,
thing. No, yeah, we're
that's
all
all I
good.
got.
What's your little extra thing for the week? You go first here.
Oh, my last thing is that I have this is specifically for people who live in Austin. Had the best chicken
Or
sando,
maybe
man.
Texas, or if you're visiting Austin, where we live.
Yeah, if you come to Austin, try. I know you're gonna be tempted to get barbecue, but you can only do that for like a day or two without blowing up your stomach. So, get go to Spicy Boys and get a fried chicken sandwich there. It's so
Yes.
good.
If you're worried about blowing up your chicken your stomach by eating too much fat and meat, go get fried chicken. Is the advice from Gautam this week?
Yeah, it's a different kind, so it's harmonious.
Yeah.
I'm a professional gastrointestine guy, so I think I know what I'm talking about. How about you, Bruce?
So I have been looking at houses that some friends and I are going to move into in a couple of weeks. That's been interesting. I've never rented a house before. I've lived exclusively in apartments for all of my adult life. Yeah, it kind of sucks. You bought a house a few years ago, right? How was the house buying experience? But you had it built, or was it already pre-built? I don't remember.
It was just pre-built. I bought it a few years ago. The house buying experience was annoying. My real estate agent didn't really do that much,
and then you have to pay them like $4,000, right?
They get a cut out of the closing costs, so
right,
you don't really have to pay real estate agents anything. But I did the work. I found the place. And the process was a little annoying, but I think the renting process that you're going through is way more annoying because people can't really reject
buying a house.
Well, they can, but they're not going to reject an offer on a new house that they're trying to sell, right? Yeah. Whereas people can reject tenants.
Yeah, which is kind of what happened to us, right? So we're moving in like a month or two. And we had looked at some places at the beginning of January, found a place we liked, applied to it. They were just like weren't getting back to us. We were bothering them like, hey, like, are we accepted? We get the place. The middle manager lady was like, oh, I'm still pestering the owners. They haven't said anything. There's another offer, blah, blah, blah. Gets a full week. They say, I don't think they're going to say yes. And now it's been a week, right? That was like 7 days ago, or maybe like 9 days ago now. So I'm like, okay, the people I'm moving in with are both moving from California back to Texas. So I'm like, hey, like, find more places. I will go look at them. So on the weekend, I looked at like 3 or 4 houses, and it takes like 30 minutes to an hour to like look at a house. I'm like streaming on my phone. They're on the phone with me. They're saying, look at this, check this, ask about that. We're doing this. We look at 3 or 4 places. I go out yesterday. Or maybe did I go out on Monday? I might have gone out on Monday to look at a place or 2, and then I go out yesterday to look at 3 places, an apartment place. But we found like a new area that we really liked, so we were expanding our search. Finally found a place, applied for it yesterday, got accepted this morning. So yay, that's the big news.
Oh, nice. Congrats, man.
Yeah, so I'll send you the address of the place. I'm not going to say it on the podcast.
Why don't you post it out over here?
1234 Austin Drive, Austin, Texas.
Bro, you're gonna get doxxed.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it's gonna be a really cool place. So,
that's awesome. I didn't know that you had to make offers on rental houses.
So it's wild. It's stupid. You have to pay an application fee, which covers the cost of like the credit check and a couple of other things. So I spent like $200 on applications to get one house, which really only cost $40 to apply for. But I've done, we applied for like 3 or 4. But yeah, you have to apply, and then they can reject you for like any reason they want. And one of the places that we applied for, that we sent our stuff over for, the woman didn't make us pay, but she got around. There's some kind of law that if you reject, you have to give a reason for it. You can't just reject because I don't like them, right? That's to cover for, I assume, for things like any kind of
discrimination.
Yeah, any kind of discrimination kind of try to eliminate that. I'm sure it doesn't, but so this lady was like, "Oh, just send me over your applications," and then it's just so funny. She was a leasing agent, but this was her house, so she was living in it and she was renting it out. But in all the email correspondence between us, she would be like, "Oh yes, let me check with the homeowners. Like, thanks for sending your stuff over. I'll let you know when the homeowners decide." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Girl, you are the homeowner. Like, you do not have to talk like this. I understand that you're in leasing agent mode, but like." And she eventually just said no. It's funny though because I toured that one on Saturday or Sunday, and we were like, "Wow, we like this place a lot. Yeah, absolutely. We'd like to pay. It's a little bit extra than we were thinking, but it's totally worth it." When I was there, I think I asked if there were any other applicants, and she was like, "Nope, like you're the only one right now, but we may have other people touring." As soon as we sent in our application the next day, she was like, "Oh, one other person has applied," and I'm like, "No, they haven't. They have not."
Do you think she was trying to gouge you?
I mean, like I said, she was a leasing agent, so I'm 100% sure that you do not let anyone apply uncontested, right? Because that always gives you an out. It always gives you an out to say the easiest way to let someone down is just say, "Oh, we're going to go with the other people." And I can go and look at that house. That house is still listed on Zillow and all those places. So I don't actually think she had a second one. I think she just didn't want to rent to us because it's a little bit of a weird situation. Not for like, I don't think it's that weird for a married couple and their friend, me, to live together to save money. That seems bog standard in today's world. But I think for the areas that we were looking at, the sort of nicer, richer house owning areas, I think people are more like, "Oh, I was expecting to rent to a family because everyone around here is a family." So our unit is a little different, and I think that's why we got a bunch of no's. But I don't know. Who knows? We got a yes. So
I think it's because families aren't really a risk. Whereas
I'm on the opposite end of that.
Well, I think so too. Kids piss and shit everywhere too, right? But I think it's just like they don't want to deal with young people.
We're not that young, Adam. We're
I know.
In our early 30s.
Yeah, I know, but like people who are 60 and 70 think we're
well,
young.
I mean, the weird thing is most of these people we were dealing with were like maybe 40s, like maybe in their 50s. A couple of the owners even were probably early, late 30s also, but yeah.
Okay. I have no idea that.
It's weird, yeah. I mean, I think it's weird because in my mind, if I have a family with a child, it's like the child's going to create damage. The family is, blah, blah, blah. If I go, oh, like 3 working professional people in their 30s who clearly are, have good rental history. One of us has a doctorate. It's not me, but literally one of us has a doctorate. We make good money. We make plenty of money to cover everything. I would much rather rent to 3 reasonable 30-year-olds than a family with children any day. And I have a dog that is pretty good generally. So yeah, I don't know. Who knows? We got a house, so it's all over now.
It's a passive income racket, bro. First, she didn't admit to it being her house. And she's just pocketing the $40 from every applicant and not renting to anyone.
Yeah, well, we didn't pay. See, what she did to get around it is we didn't pay to apply to that place before she rejected us. So she didn't have to give us a reason why she rejected because we didn't actually apply. We just sent our applications to her. So.
Oh, got it. Well, either way, weird stuff. Glad you found a place, though.
Yep. We'll have to. The background here will change in a month. Yeah, right about a month. The background behind me will change. So we'll have to see what that looks like. Cool. Well, cool. Anything else?
Nope. That's about it.
Let's call it. Oh, I have Spicy Boys Chicken pulled up because I was looking at their menu. Cool. Well, everyone, thanks for listening or watching. If you are listening to us on a podcast thing, we are also live on the White Gray Black YouTube channel on YouTube every week. The VODs are up in the next day or two. And the podcasts are available where you can find most all podcasts. That is, we're on Apple Podcasts and we're on Spotify. I assume most people use those. If you would like to support the channel, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/WGBmanga. We're going to have a bonus episode going up at the end of the month, where you'll be able to hear me and Gautam talk about our history with anime and manga. So that should be pretty cool. Yeah, check me out on Twitter at WGBmanga. Always check out the YouTube channel, White Gray Black Manga. You search it, you'll find me. And as always, thank you so much for being with us.
See you later.
Don't forget to read more manga. Sayonara.